So a week ago, I got a phone call from Vanessa at The Biggest Loser, and I was in shock as I'm driving home from work that all of a sudden I have a phone call from The Biggest Loser team. I had pretty much decided that because I knew this particular season was going to be a partner season, that so it's not this one is not the one for me to apply to. And then this call comes. I'm like thinking to myself, all right, maybe third time's the charm. So we started racking our brains that before I left for karate that evening. Who are you going to ask? Who are you going to ask? And one of the first people that popped into my mind was Stephanie. And part of it is I think that we get put in people's lives and people's paths when we're supposed to, on the journey that we're supposed to. And I believe that because of our life scenarios, you're a stay-at-home mom, I am a full-time working mother, and I've had a year to kind of wrap my head around the fact that I really wanted to go on this journey on The Biggest Loser.
And I thought you were crazy.
So anyway, as we're driving down to the karate school, I'm like, yeah, Stephanie's the right person for me to ask. And it's been a lot of fun this last week to really sit down and truly talk about our journey as overweight women.
Right.
And I guess when I got to the karate school on Monday night, I saw you standing there, and I walked over to you, and I said, Lauren and I were of course running behind because of the phone call and waiting for Dave to get home, waiting for Jay to get home, waiting for everybody to kind of culminate together and say, okay guys, guess what? This opportunity is there. And so when I said to you, hey, I have a question for you, but let's talk after class, and you looked at me and said, no, I'm leaving right now.
I'm leaving. You want to ask it, you got to ask it now.
I'm like, oh, ah. So I gave Stephanie a hug and I said, so, I got a phone call this afternoon from The Biggest Loser, and they want me to have a partner. And what was your first,
my first thought was, no way, no. My first thought was, who could be her partner? That's what I first thought. And then when I understood you were asking me, I told you, I said I'd pray about it, right? I didn't have peace with that decision. I felt unsettled with that decision and knew I needed to resolve it, or I wasn't going to be able to get anything else done for the rest of the evening. So that's when I texted you and I said, okay, I'll do it. And then I caught your eye before I left the karate school, which is kind of a no-no on the karate floor. You're not supposed to interfere with what's going on the floor, but I figured our instructor, Mr. Gonzalez, would understand in this instance. So I caught your eye and I said, let's do it. And that began kind of my shorter journey of wrapping my head around what that might include. Time spent away from family, I think, is probably what's been the hardest to I guess, resolve within myself. I'm not afraid of the hard work. You're not afraid of the hard work. We know what hard work is. We've done it. I'm not afraid of the food deprivation or challenges. I'm not afraid of being tempted by food. We've been through that for most of our lives, of depriving ourselves of things that we want, or whatever that isn't good for us, and being tempted by things that we want to eat that we shouldn't eat, and being able to say no sometimes, or yes other times. We've been down that path, and I thought, it, like you say, things come to you when they're supposed to, and just kind of the way that everything is gelled together for us, and this makes me know it's the right time. I've admired Lanny for a long time. I met you, almost 4 years ago? 3.5 years ago, maybe?
Well, It was probably like 4 years ago.
Something like that. My son was working on getting his black belt in Taekwondo, and Lanny already had her black belt in Taekwondo, was working on her second degree, and she came to the school where we were and came in to help with the instruction and the leadership and things like that. And I was still the mom on the bench, you know. I knew all the answers for my son. Respond, say yes sir, you know. I had all the answers for what he was going to do, but I planted myself on the bench, and that was where I was going to stay. And what I found is a karate family that has really embraced me and encouraged me, you know, through the last year and 9 months or whatever that I've been there. And you know, when I talked to my instructor about this opportunity, and I said it scares me to death, but I'm not going to run away from things that scare me anymore, he said, I know something else you used to be afraid of. And once you got past that fear, you found out you were pretty good at it. So I think that can happen in this case too. I think we could be really good at this, and I think we could be a force, you know, in the game that would encourage people.
When you talk about the family, the camaraderie that we have there in karate, you know, I think that when you see the candidates, the cast members that are on the show, you go, gosh, how do they gel with each other? How do they encourage each other? How do they you know, motivate each other through the hard times, through the times that you want to quit? And I think that is a unique thing that we really can bring to The Biggest Loser Season 13, is that we already have that understanding of what bringing a team together and bringing out the best in those people.
Absolutely.
Despite our physical appearance, our physical abilities, our emotional things that you go through when you've journeyed in the world of weight loss. You know, when Dave and I met 19 years ago, which, you know, we've talked about that. You know, the similarities that we had, the journey of being able to say, you know, we've been married, we've had successful marriages for 19 years, and how we have the opportunity to really honor our spouses by coming home for our 20th year anniversary, being the women we want to be for them, want to be for our families, and
having kept the promise.
Having kept the promise. As a candidate, as a cast member of The Biggest Loser, what do you see as the greatest thing that you're going to get from it? What do you think you're going to bring home from it?
I think just the belief and the understanding that all of our dreams are within our reach. We just really need to work at it, and being able to be in that environment where that's the only focus, right?
Me too. I know through our strengths, through our weaknesses, we can help each other.
Absolutely. And I want this for you as much as I want it for me. I really do. You know, I want to see you be successful. I want to be part of you reaching that goal. And I know you want the same thing for me.
I wouldn't have asked. So I wouldn't have asked if I didn't want that same journey for both of us, you know, and so that's why we're asking to be a part of The Biggest Loser 13's cast.
Thank you.
We are the Ninja Warrior Moms, ready to get rid of our disguise. I'm 48, and I'm Lanny.
I'm 40, and I'm Stephanie.
We're gonna pump you up.